If you want to understand the brutality of World War II, look at the cities after the bombing raids. Don't just look at the tanks. Look at the shattered window frames, the walls still standing among piles of rubble, the streets that once echoed with human voices, now filled only with dust, smoke, and silence. London endured long nights under bombs during the Blitz. People had to sleep in air raid shelters. Children were evacuated from the city. Many families did not know whether their homes would still be standing the next morning. Warsaw, the capital of Poland, was devastated terribly. A city of history, culture, and people, crushed by war. Dresden also became a symbol of destruction when bombing raids turned much of the city into a sea of fire. And this is what I want you to pause for a moment and think about. A city is not just concrete, streets, or rooftops. A city is memory. It is where someone was born, where a family sat down for dinner, the road a child walked to school every day, a father's small shop, the room where a mother lulled her child to sleep. When a city is destroyed, what is lost is not only buildings, it is an entire way of life. That is why I always say, war does not only kill people with bullets and bombs, it also kills the most ordinary things in human life. And sometimes those ordinary things are the most precious of all. One of the images that haunts me most when studying World War II is not always the image of the battlefield. It is the image of refugees. Ordinary people carrying only a few small bags, walking along cold roads, not knowing where they were going, and not knowing whether they would ever return. War forced millions of people to leave their homes. Some fled from bombs, some fled from occupying armies, some fled from hunger and cold, some simply ran in order to survive. Imagine waking up one morning and being told that you must leave your home immediately. You cannot take everything with you. You have to choose very quickly. A few pieces of clothing, a family photograph, a loaf of bread, maybe one small object that belonged to someone you love. Then, you step out onto the road, not knowing whether this will be the last time you ever see your home. That was not a movie. That was the reality for millions of people during World War II. Alongside the bombs came famine. As the war dragged on, food became scarce. Supply routes were destroyed. Farms were abandoned. Cities were surrounded. People had to stand in long lines just to receive a tiny portion of food. And in circumstances like that, people were not only fighting the enemy, they were fighting the cold, fighting hunger, fighting fear, and fighting the helpless feeling of not being able to protect the people they loved. Some families were separated during evacuations. Some children never saw their parents again. Some soldiers returned after the war, only to find that their old home was gone, and their family was no longer whole. When we talk about World War II, we often ask, who won and who lost? But for so many ordinary families, that question no longer meant very much, because no matter which side won, they had already lost too much. There is one part of World War II that we cannot ignore, and when we speak about it, I believe we must speak with seriousness, with respect, and with care. That is the Holocaust. The Holocaust was not just a war crime. It was one of the darkest chapters in human history. Under the Nazi regime, millions of Jewish people were persecuted, stripped of their rights, arrested, sent to concentration camps, and systematically murdered. And it was not only Jewish people. Many other groups also became victims of persecution and violence. Roma people, people with disabilities, political prisoners, prisoners of war, and many communities, the Nazi regime, considered unworthy of life. What makes the Holocaust so terrifying is not only the number of victims, it is the way it was organized. Hatred was no longer just words shouted in the streets. It became law. It became paperwork. It became lists. It became trains. It became barbed wire. It became a cold, systematic machine of killing. And this is what I always think about deeply. No catastrophe like this happens in a single night. Before there were concentration camps, there was propaganda. Before there were trains, there were words of hatred. Before people were murdered on a mass scale, they had already been stripped of their dignity in the eyes of society. That is why the Holocaust is not only a historical event, it is a warning. It reminds us that when a group of people is turned into the enemy, when hatred is repeated long enough, when ordinary people begin to stay silent in the face of injustice, then the unthinkable can become reality. And once that happens, the price is beyond measure. August 1945. The war reached one of the most haunting moments in history. Hiroshima, Nagasaki. 2 atomic bombs were dropped on Japan. In a single moment, the power of destruction exceeded anything humanity had ever witnessed before. Cities were flattened. People disappeared in a blinding flash of light. The survivors carried wounds on their bodies and in their memories for the rest of their lives. I know this is still a subject of historical debate. Some say the atomic bombs brought the war to a faster end. Others say the human cost was too horrific. But no matter which perspective we take, one thing cannot be denied. From Hiroshima and Nagasaki, humanity entered a new age. An age in which human beings were no longer capable only of killing one another with guns, artillery, or conventional bombs. They were now capable of destroying themselves. That is what makes the ending of World War II unlike any war before it. The war ended, but a new fear began. The fear that if humanity continued to let hatred, ambition, and power grow beyond control, then next time, the price could be far greater. When we look back at World War II, it is very easy to get caught up in the numbers. How many tanks? How many aircraft? How many battles? How much territory was occupied? How many nations joined the war? But if we only look at the numbers, we forget the most important thing. Every number was a human being. A father, a mother, a child, a soldier, a civilian, a family, a dream that never had the chance to be fully lived. World War II was not only a story of who won and who lost. It was a story of how far humanity can go when hatred is encouraged, when violence becomes normalized, and when the world waits too long to act. The brutality of World War II reminds us that peace is not something that simply exists on its own. Peace must be protected through memory, through awareness, through the courage to look directly at the past, even when that past is deeply painful. I am John Miller, and if this video made you think, even for just a moment, leave a comment below. In your opinion, what is the greatest lesson World War II left for humanity? If you want to continue looking back with me at the stories that changed the world, subscribe to ww2 Echoes History. In the next video, we may go deeper into one of the darkest chapters in history, the Holocaust, when hatred became a machine of death. Thank you for watching. And remember, history is not only meant to be retold, history is meant to remind us not to repeat the mistakes of the past.